Captain Boram stood at the big window of the space station looking at the dark ships coming toward Earth. The alien ships were huge like floating cities, with weapons that could destroy entire planets. The Vex Empire had been watching human colonies, for many months testing their defenses and making bigger and bigger demands. Boram knew this day would come. Eventually someone would push humans too far and give them the excuse they had been waiting for. The aliens thought humans were weak, peaceful, people who only cared about art and music and books. They had no idea what humans were really like when they stopped being nice down on New Sol Colony. Dr. Chan Wu worked in his secret laboratory deep underground. The lab was hidden beneath what looked like a simple flower shop. Above ground, people bought roses and tulips, but below ground, Chan Wu built weapons that could break the laws of space and time. He had been working on these projects for 20 years, just like his father and grandfather. Before him, the galaxy believed humans were soft because that is what humans wanted them to believe. For 300 years, every human settlement had been designed to look harmless. Every farmer was actually a trained soldier. Every teacher knew how to use weapons that could level mountains. Every artist could fly warships that moved faster than light. Admiral He Jin sat in her command center, which looked exactly like a peaceful garden to anyone watching from above. The beautiful flowers were actually sensors that could detect ships from other star systems. The pretty pond was really a launch platform for missiles that could chase targets across the galaxy. She had been waiting her whole life for this moment. The Vex had been getting bolder for months. Their scout ships would come close to human colonies and scan everything. They would land on human worlds and demand tribute and resources. They expected humans to bow down and give them whatever they wanted because humans seemed so weak and peaceful. What the Vex did not know was that humans had been studying them just as carefully. Every time a Vex ship came near a human world, dozens of hidden sensors recorded everything about their technology, their weapons, their fighting methods, their weaknesses. Humans had files on every Vex commander, every ship design, every battle tactic captain. Kyung Ho ran what appeared to be a small farming community on the edge of human space. The Vex had visited his world many times, demanding food and supplies. They always left satisfied, thinking they had bullied weak farmers into giving up their crops. They never noticed that every farmer carried weapons or that every barn contained enough firepower to destroy their ships. The children in Kyung Ho's village attended school just like children everywhere. But their lessons included things that would surprise the Vex. They learned math by calculating missile trajectories. They learned chemistry by studying explosive compounds. They learned history by studying every war humans had ever fought. The galaxy thought human children were innocent and pure, but they were actually being trained to be the most dangerous soldiers in space. Lieutenant Sunmi managed the communications for the colony. Her job looked simple. She helped people send messages to their families on other worlds, but she was actually running the most sophisticated spy network in the galaxy. Every human settlement was connected to every other human settlement by secret channels that no alien could detect. When Vex ships sent messages to each other, humans intercepted every word. When Vex commanders made plans, humans knew about them before the plans were finished. When Vex soldiers prepared for battle, humans had already planned their defeat. The aliens thought they were the hunters, but they were actually the prey. Dr. Jiwan worked at what appeared to be a small medical clinic, treating sick farmers and their families. But her real job was developing biological weapons that could target specific alien species. She had spent years studying Vex biology, learning how their bodies worked and how to make them stop working. She could create diseases that would only affect Vex, leaving every other species completely. Safe Commander Wu Jin taught at the local school where human children learned reading and writing and basic math. But the school was actually a military training facility disguised as an education center. The playground equipment could transform into weapons platforms. The classroom computers were connected to military networks. The school library contained tactical manuals disguised as children books. The Vex Empire thought they understood humans. They had watched human colonies for decades. Seeing farmers and teachers and doctors and artists, they saw people who seemed to care only about growing food and making music and writing poetry. They never suspected that every human civilian was actually a trained warrior waiting for orders. Admiral Yuna coordinated the defense of human space from a facility that looked like a university campus. Students attended classes and professors gave lectures about literature and philosophy. But deep beneath the beautiful buildings lay the most advanced, military command center in the galaxy, computers that could process information faster than entire alien civilizations, networks that connected every human world instantaneously, weapons that could destroy star systems. The deception had been perfect. For 3 centuries, humans had spread across the galaxy as peaceful traders and settlers. They built farms and schools and hospitals and art galleries. They wrote beautiful music and created stunning paintings and composed moving poetry. Every alien species had come to see humans as harmless creatures who posed no threat to anyone. But underneath this peaceful facade, humanity had been preparing for war. Every human settlement was actually a military base. Every civilian was a soldier. Every piece of art contained hidden weapons. Every song carried coded military instructions. Every poem was actually a tactical manual. The entire human civilization was one giant military machine disguised as a peaceful culture captain. Sora flew patrol missions around human colonies in what appeared to be a simple cargo ship. The Vex had scanned her vessel many times and found nothing but farming equipment and art supplies. They never detected the weapons hidden in every cargo container or the sensors. Built into every piece of equipment, her ship could destroy an entire Vex fleet, but looked like it could barely defend itself. The waiting was almost over. The Vex had finally decided that human colonies would make perfect slave settlements. They had sent their demands through official channels, expecting humans to negotiate and compromise and eventually surrender. Instead, they received a simple message from Fleet Admiral Minho that read, "We decline your offer. Please reconsider your position, the Shanda dies." Aliens interpreted this as typical human weakness, not recognizing the formal declaration of war it actually represented. They had no idea that across human space ancient protocols were being activated, and sleeping giants were beginning to wake. The most dangerous predators in the galaxy were about to stop pretending to be prey. The Vex attack came at sunrise across 17 human colonies at the same time. Their massive warships blocked out the sun as they descended from space-firing plasma cannons that lit up the sky like deadly fireworks. Millions of alien soldiers poured from landing pods, expecting to find terrified farmers running for their lives. Captain Subin crouched behind what looked like a simple wooden fence, watching the first wave of Vex troops land in the wheat fields outside New Busan colony. The aliens emerged from their dropships with weapons ready, scanning for targets. They found empty fields and abandoned farm equipment, exactly what they expected to see. The Vex soldiers began to relax, thinking the humans had fled in terror. They started walking toward the village, confident that this would be an easy conquest. They had no idea they were walking into the most sophisticated trap in galactic history. Every step they took was being monitored by sensors hidden in the dirt. Lieutenant Commander Dong Hyun sat in his control room deep beneath what appeared to be a simple grain silo. His fingers moved across control panels that looked like they belonged in a spaceship, not a farming community. Above ground, the silo looked like it held wheat, but below ground it contained enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The first surprise came when the wheat field suddenly exploded upward, revealing weapons platforms that had been hidden underground for decades. What the Vex thought were simple farming tools were actually sophisticated artillery pieces that had been disguised as tractors and harvesters. The peaceful countryside became a battlefield in seconds. Sergeant Haewon watched through her scope. As Vex soldiers realized, they were surrounded. The aliens began to panic as the ground around them opened up, revealing missile launchers and energy cannons that emerged from hidden bunkers. The farmers they had expected to find were nowhere to be seen, but the weapons were definitely real. The Vex tried to retreat but found that escape was impossible. The entire area had been designed as a killing field with overlapping fields of fire from hidden positions. Every tree, every rock, every building contained weapons or sensors. The aliens who had come to conquer found themselves trapped in a maze of death. Dr. Chanwoo activated his first weapon from the safety of his underground laboratory. The device looked like a simple radio, but it could disrupt Vex nervous systems from several kilometers away. The alien soldiers began to stumble and fall as their own bodies betrayed them. They had never encountered anything like this. Technology Commander Tae-hyun smiled as he watched the battle from his command post. which was disguised as a country church. The beautiful stained glass windows were actually armor plating that could stop tank rounds. The bell tower contained sensors that tracked every Vex movement and transmitted targeting data to hidden weapons. The second wave of Vex attackers came down in armored vehicles thinking they could smash through human defenses with brute force. They found the roads blocked by what appeared to be fallen trees and abandoned cars. But when they tried to push through, the real surprise began. Captain Minsu triggered the road mines that had been hidden for 50 years. The explosions were so powerful, they created new craters in the landscape. Vex vehicles were thrown into the air like toys while their crews tried to figure out what was happening. The peaceful farming roads had become a graveyard of twisted metal. The third surprise came when the Vex called for air support. Their fighters swooped down expecting to destroy defenseless buildings, but found themselves facing surface-to-air missiles that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The beautiful flower gardens erupted with weapons fire that brought down alien aircraft like shooting stars. Private Yejin operated one of the hidden anti-aircraft systems from her position inside what looked like a small greenhouse. The roses and daisies around her were actually camouflage for sensors and weapons that could track targets moving at incredible speeds. She had been trained to use this equipment since she was 12 years old. General Yusuk coordinated the overall defense from his headquarters beneath the village community center. Above ground people had held festivals and celebrations for decades, but below ground lay one of the most advanced military command centers in human space. Every celebration had been cover for military exercises. The Vex finally realized they were not fighting farmers, but professional soldiers who had been waiting for this moment their entire lives. Every human they encountered moved with military precision using weapons and tactics that seemed impossible for a peaceful agricultural community. The aliens began to understand they had made a terrible mistake. Captain Ji-hoon led his squad through tunnels that connected every building in the village. The Vex had no idea that beneath their feet lay a network of passages that allowed human defenders to move unseen from position to position. What appeared to be a simple farming community was actually a fortress that had been built over generations. The alien commanders tried to call for reinforcements, but found their communications were being jammed by signals that seemed to come from the human radio station. The peaceful music that had played for years was actually a sophisticated electronic warfare system that could disrupt any alien technology. Lieutenant So Young monitored Vex communications from her position in the radio station. She could hear the growing panic in alien voices as they realized their easy conquest had become a nightmare. The soldiers who had expected to face terrified civilians were instead fighting an enemy that seemed to know their every move. Dr. Hyun-ju activated her biological weapons from the medical clinic where she had treated sick farmers for 20 years. The compounds she released were specifically designed to affect Vex physiology without harming humans or any other species. The alien soldiers began to experience symptoms that made fighting impossible. The fourth wave of Vex attackers never made it to the ground. Their landing ships were destroyed by weapons that fired from hidden positions in the hills. What the aliens had thought were natural rock formations were actually camouflaged bunkers that contained enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. Commander In-ho watched the destruction from his command post inside what appeared to be a simple barn. The hay and farming equipment around him concealed computers and weapon systems that could coordinate attacks across multiple star systems. He had spent 30 years preparing for this moment. By midday, the Vex attack on New Busan Colony had become a complete disaster. The aliens who had expected to conquer peaceful farmers in a few hours found themselves fighting for their lives against an enemy that seemed to be everywhere at once. The other 16 human colonies were reporting similar results. The galaxy watched in shock as news of the battles spread. Humanity had revealed its true nature, and the sight terrified every species that had underestimated them. The peaceful farmers and artists had become the most dangerous military force anyone had ever seen. Captain Won-sik stood among the wreckage of Vex equipment scattered across the wheat fields. The harvest this year would be even better thanks to all the alien metal that would make excellent fertilizer. He smiled as he contacted other human colonies to compare results. The real war was just beginning. News of the Vex attack spread through human space faster than light itself. And with it came something the galaxy had never seen before: humanity dropping its peaceful mask completely. Admiral Yu Jin received authorization codes that had not been used since the Great Deception began 300 years ago, and suddenly the true scope of human military power started to show itself. The first sign that everything had changed came when human merchant ships throughout the galaxy began to transform themselves. What alien species had believed were simple cargo vessels carrying art and food suddenly revealed their true nature as mobile weapons platforms that could destroy entire fleets. The holds that aliens thought contained paintings and sculptures actually held missiles and energy cannons. Captain Yonseo commanded one of these disguised warships called the Peaceful Trader, which had been selling human artwork to alien worlds for 15 years. The Vex had inspected her ship dozens of times and found nothing but beautiful paintings and music recordings. They never suspected that every painting contained weapons components and every song was actually encrypted. Military data. Dr. Ha-Jun worked frantically in weapons development, laboratories that officially did not exist according to galactic records. For 3 centuries, humanity had been creating military technologies while pretending to focus on poetry and philosophy. Now they had weapons that could bend space and time, devices that could make stars go out, and strategies based on hundreds of years of studying alien weaknesses. The transformation was happening everywhere at once. Human research stations revealed themselves as fortress command centers, human art galleries, open to show armories that would make alien generals weep. Human schools activated training programs that turned teachers into military commanders and students into elite soldiers. Lieutenant Su Jin ran what everyone believed was a small library on the colony world of New Daegu. But when the authorization codes came through the building, revealed its true purpose as a communications hub that could coordinate military operations across thousands of light years. The books on the shelves were actually sophisticated computers disguised as literature. The Vex Empire began to understand something was terribly wrong when their easy conquest turned into a complete nightmare. Human colonies were not just defending themselves, they were actively hunting Vex forces with a precision that spoke of centuries of preparation. Every human seemed to know exactly what to do, as if they had been planning this response since birth. Captain Ji-hai led the first openly military human fleet in 300 years, and the sight of it made alien commanders throughout the galaxy question everything they thought they knew about humanity. These were not the peaceful traders and artists they had observed. These were apex predators who had been waiting patiently for someone to give them a reason to stop pretending to be harmless. The human warships looked like nothing any alien species had ever seen before. They moved in ways that seemed to violate the laws of physics. They fired weapons that could punch holes through reality itself, and they were crewed by humans who fought with a combination of scientific precision and creative brutality that was absolutely terrifying. Commander Sung Woo operated the weapon systems on the flagship called Humanity, unleashed, and he had been waiting his entire life for this moment. The ship looked like a work of art, with smooth curves and beautiful lines, but it contained enough firepower to destroy entire solar systems. The weapons had names like Starbreaker and Reality Shaper. And they were not just threats. Dr. Young-hee commanded the Psychological Warfare Division that began broadcasting across all galactic communication channels with a message that made alien blood freeze in their veins. We have been watching you for 300 years, studying your weaknesses, learning your fears, preparing for the day someone would be foolish enough to wake us up. That day has come. The broadcasts included detailed files on every major alien military force, proving that humans had been collecting intelligence while pretending to be interested in art and culture. They knew the names of every alien commander, the location of every alien base, the specifications of every alien weapon. The galaxy realized that humanity had been conducting the greatest espionage operation in history. Captain Wonho took command of the human diplomatic fleet, but these were not the same peaceful vessels that had carried human ambassadors for centuries. These ships looked identical to the old ones, but now they carried the implicit threat of what humanity could do when someone made them angry. The message was clear: we chose to be peaceful because we are too dangerous to be anything else. The Vex tried to rally their allies, but found that other alien species were suddenly very reluctant to join the fight. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humanity had not been weak at all. They had been the most dangerous predators in known space, disguised as harmless prey. Everyone who had ever underestimated humans was now reconsidering their position. General Tiemann coordinated the human response from Earth Command Center, a facility so advanced that it made the best Vex technology look like stone tools. 4. 3 centuries humans had been building the most sophisticated war machine in galactic history, while everyone else thought they were writing poetry and growing flowers. The scale of the deception was staggering. Every human colony, every trade route, every diplomatic mission had been part of a military operation that spanned centuries. The peaceful expansion of humanity through the galaxy was revealed to be the most successful infiltration in the history of warfare. Captain Min Jung led human forces in what became known as the Battle of Vex Prime, where the alien homeworld was surrounded by ships that seemed to appear from nowhere. The Vex had expected to fight farmers and artists. Instead, they faced a military force that had been preparing for this exact scenario for generations. Dr. Chan Ho activated weapons that existed only in alien nightmares, devices that could make enemy soldiers forget how to fight, machines that turned alien weapons against their own users, and psychological warfare tools that made entire enemy fleets surrender without firing a shot. The humans had spent 3 centuries thinking of new ways to end wars quickly. The Vex Empire that had ruled 1,000 worlds for millennia was falling apart in a matter of weeks, not because humans destroyed their planets, but because humans made resistance impossible. They used economic warfare to crash alien economies, psychological operations to break enemy morale, and technological superiority that made fighting pointless. Lieutenant Hai Young monitored the surrender requests that began pouring in from Vex worlds that had never been attacked. The mere threat of human retaliation was enough to make entire star systems capitulate without a fight. The galaxy had learned that when humans finally stopped being nice, the universe itself seemed to bend to their will. The transformation was complete and terrifying to witness. Humanity had revealed its true nature as the sleeping giant of the galaxy. And now, everyone understood why they had chosen to remain asleep for so long. It was not because they were weak, it was because they were so overwhelmingly powerful that peace was the only option that allowed other species to survive. Across human space, the transformation was complete and absolutely terrifying to witness. Every human settlement, every trade post, every diplomatic station revealed its true nature as a military asset that had been disguised for 3 centuries. The galaxy watched in horror as humanity's peaceful expansion was shown to be the most successful military infiltration in galactic history. Commander Seong Ho coordinated the response from Earth True Command Center, a facility so advanced that it made the Vex Empire best military technology look like primitive cave paintings. Humanity had not just been pretending to be weak, they had been studying every alien species, learning their weaknesses, and preparing customized strategies for defeating each one. The first major battle came at Kepler Station, where what the aliens thought was a human cultural center revealed itself as a weapons platform capable of destroying entire star fleets. Captain Yoon-ji commanded the defense with a smile that would have frozen alien blood, using tactics that no other species had ever seen, because humans had never shown their true capabilities before. The station transformed before the eyes of the attacking Vex fleet. Beautiful art displays became missile launchers, concert halls opened to reveal hangar bays filled with fighter craft that moved like living things. The museum exhibits were actually weapons so advanced that they seemed like magic to alien observers. Dr. Young-soo Psychological Warfare Division began their campaign with broadcasts that reached every corner of the galaxy. The message was simple and terrifying. You have awakened something that was sleeping. We have been pretending to be sheep while studying wolves. Now you will learn why predators fear persistence more than strength. The broadcast included footage of human capabilities that no alien had ever suspected: children as young as 10, operating weapons that could crack planets. Elderly humans who looked like harmless, grandparents commanding fleets that could reshape solar systems. Teachers and farmers and artists who moved with the precision of elite soldiers because that is exactly what they were. Captain Dongwu led the assault on the Vex forward base at Rigel 7 with ships that seemed to dance through space, dodging weapons fire that should have been impossible to avoid. The human vessels moved in patterns that violated everything aliens knew about space combat, flowing like water around enemy attacks while striking with surgical precision. The Vex commanders watched in disbelief as their most secure facilities were penetrated by human forces, who seemed to know the layout better than the aliens who built them. Every defense system, every security protocol, every secret passage had been mapped and studied by human intelligence networks that had been operating for centuries. Lieutenant Sora operated the electronic warfare systems that turned Vex computers against their own users. Alien weapons began firing on alien ships, communication systems started broadcasting human propaganda, and navigation computers began sending Vex fleets into empty space. The humans had viruses that could think and adapt and spread through any alien technology. General Heijun commanded the ground assault on Vex colony worlds where human soldiers moved like ghosts through alien cities. They struck without warning, disappeared without trace, and left behind destruction that seemed impossible. For their small numbers, the Vex had expected to fight human farmers instead. They faced warriors who had been trained since childhood for exactly this kind of warfare. The psychological impact was devastating. Vex soldiers began surrendering before humans even arrived on their worlds. The mere rumor that human forces were coming was enough to cause panic among alien troops who had heard the stories of what happened to those who fought them. Captain Wu Sung flew reconnaissance missions in ships that were invisible to alien sensors. He could observe Vex military installations from close range, recording everything, while remaining completely undetected. The humans had stealth technology that made their ships as hard to find as shadows. At midnight, Dr. Ji-hoon activated biological weapons that targeted specific alien species without affecting any other life forms. The compounds were so precisely designed that they could attack Vex physiology while leaving human pets completely unharmed. This level of biological warfare was beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Vex tried to use their most powerful weapons against human positions, but found that their attacks were being deflected by defensive systems that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Human shield generators could absorb the energy from planet-killing weapons and redirect it back at the attacker's commander. Insu led the space battle above New Kyoto, where Vex dreadnoughts that had never been defeated found themselves outmaneuvered by human ships that were half their size. The human vessels moved in 3 dimensions, while the alien ships were limited to 2. Their tactics were so advanced that they seemed like they came from the future. The economic warfare was just as devastating. Human traders throughout the galaxy suddenly stopped accepting Vex currency, causing their economy to collapse overnight. Markets that had been dependent on human goods found themselves cut off completely, while human competitors moved in to fill every gap. Captain Ye-won commanded the blockade of Vex supply lines using ships that could appear and disappear at will. Alien cargo vessels found themselves surrounded by human warships that demanded surrender or destruction. The Vex logistics network that had supported their empire for centuries was dismantled in a matter of days. Lieutenant Min Seok operated the propaganda systems that broadcast human messages directly into Vex homes and military bases. The aliens could not block the transmissions because humans had been building backdoors into their communication systems for decades. Every Vex citizen could hear the human message, "Surrender now, or face complete destruction." The Vex leadership tried to negotiate, but found that humans were not interested in terms. They wanted complete and unconditional surrender. Nothing less would be acceptable. The empire that had ruled 1,000 worlds was being offered a choice between submission and extinction. Dr. Kyung-min activated the final phase of human psychological warfare, broadcasting images of human capabilities that had been kept secret for centuries. Weapons that could make stars explode, ships that could travel between galaxies instantly, soldiers who could fight in conditions that would kill any other species. The message was clear to every alien who saw the broadcasts. Humanity had been holding back for 3 centuries, not because they were weak, but because they were so overwhelmingly powerful that showing their true strength would have ended galactic civilization. The Vex had forced them to reveal what they really were. Captain Soo-hyun led the final assault on the Vex capital world, where the alien government made its last stand. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes before the Vex Emperor broadcast his surrender to the entire galaxy. Humanity had achieved total victory against an empire that had seemed invincible. The aftermath was swift and decisive. The Vex Empire was dismantled, piece by piece, not through destruction, but through the kind of systematic efficiency that only humans could achieve. Alien worlds were occupied by human forces who seemed to know exactly how to govern them better than the aliens who had lived there for centuries. The galaxy watched in fascination and terror as humans proved that 3 centuries of peaceful development had actually been preparation for the most efficient war machine ever created. The sleeping giants had awakened, and nothing would ever be the same again. Within 6 months, the Vex Empire was completely defeated, but not in any way that anyone expected. Humanity did not just destroy their military. They systematically dismantled their entire civilization using economic warfare, psychological operations, and technological superiority that made resistance completely impossible. The galaxy watched in fascination and terror as humans proved that 3 centuries of peaceful development had actually been preparation for the most efficient war machine ever created. Fleet Admiral Minho stood before the Galactic Council as humanity claimed its place among the major powers, but with a crucial difference. They were not seeking conquest or expansion. They were establishing themselves as the species you absolutely did not want to cross. The message was crystal clear. Humans had chosen to be peaceful not because they were weak, but because they were so dangerous that peace was the only safe option for everyone else. The aftermath of the war became known throughout the galaxy as the Great Revelation, as every alien species began to understand the true scope of human capabilities. Every human art piece, every philosophical treaty, every peaceful gesture was now seen in a completely new light, as the actions of a species so confident in their destructive abilities that they could afford to be genuinely peaceful. Most of the time, Captain Wan Ho commanded the new human diplomatic fleet vessels that looked exactly like the old peaceful trade ships but now carried the implicit threat of what humanity could do when someone made them angry. The galaxy power structure had fundamentally shifted overnight, and every alien civilization knew it. Humans were no longer the harmless philosophers. They were the sleeping giants who had chosen to stay asleep until someone was foolish enough to wake them up. The transformation of human society was remarkable to witness. Overnight, the pretense was dropped, and humanity revealed itself as the most advanced military civilization in galactic history. Every human colony became an obvious fortress. Every human ship showed its true capabilities. Every human citizen stopped hiding their combat training. Dr. Chanmi worked in facilities that had previously been disguised as research laboratories studying alien poetry, but were now revealed as weapons development centers that had been creating technologies beyond alien comprehension for centuries. The devices they had built could manipulate matter at the quantum level, reshape space-time itself, and create effects that seemed like magic to other species. Lieutenant Su Young operated communication systems that connected every human settlement across thousands of light years with instantaneous transmission. The network had been disguised as cultural exchange programs, but was actually the most sophisticated military command structure ever constructed, allowing humanity to coordinate actions across the entire galaxy in real time. The Vex survivors became a cautionary tale told throughout the stars about what happened when someone underestimated humanity. They thought humans were weak because they chose peace. They learned too late that the most dangerous predator is the one that chooses not to hunt. The few Vex who remained alive spent their time warning other species never to make the same mistake their empire had made. Captain Jiwoo led patrols through former Vex territory in ships that no longer bothered to hide their military nature. The human vessels moved through space like apex predators, marking their territory and making sure everyone understood the new rules. The galaxy had learned that humanity was not just another species. They were the species that all others measured themselves against. General Yubin established the new human military academies, where the pretense of civilian education was finally dropped. Human children who had been secretly trained as soldiers their entire lives could now openly study tactics, strategy, and weapons technology that made alien military science look primitive. The next generation of humans would be even more formidable than their parents. Dr. Hai Young published the first open studies of human military capabilities, and the documents terrified every alien scientist who read them. Humanity had been developing weapons and strategies for 3 centuries, while everyone else thought they were writing poetry. The technological gap between humans and other species was so vast that it could not be measured. The economic transformation was equally dramatic. Human trade ships that had carried art and literature now openly transported military hardware to allied species, while denying it to potential enemies. Humans offered protection services to smaller civilizations, who suddenly understood that being friends with humanity was the best insurance policy in the galaxy. Commander Dong Jin ran the new human intelligence services that were no longer required to operate in secret. The spy networks that had been gathering information for centuries could now work openly, because every alien government was eager to share intelligence with humanity, rather than risk becoming their enemy, Captain Min Jung commanded. The human exploration fleets that ventured into unknown regions of space, looking for potential threats to galactic stability. The ships carried enough firepower to handle anything they might encounter, and the crews were trained to make first contact with species who had never heard of humanity. The cultural impact was profound. Human art and literature suddenly took on new meanings when viewed through the lens of their true nature. Poems that had seemed to celebrate peace were revealed as tactical. Manuals, songs that praised beauty contained encoded military instructions. Paintings that showed pastoral scenes were actually maps of defensive positions. Lieutenant So Jin worked with alien governments who were trying to understand how they had missed the signs for so long. Human diplomatic missions had been intelligence-gathering operations. Human trade deals had been military preparations. Human cultural exchanges had been reconnaissance missions. The scope of the deception was so vast that it redefined what was possible in galactic politics. Admiral Tae-hoon established the new galactic order, where humanity served as the ultimate peacekeepers. They did not rule other species directly, but everyone understood that major conflicts would not be tolerated. Human intervention in disputes was swift, decisive, and final. Most problems were resolved simply by asking what humanity would prefer. Dr. Young-gu studied the psychological effects of the revelation on alien populations. Many species experienced what became known as humanity shock, the sudden realization that they had been completely wrong about the most important species in the galaxy. Entire civilizations had to rebuild their understanding of galactic politics, military, strategy, and what it meant to be powerful. The new human colonies made no attempt to hide their military nature. Defensive installations were built in the open training facilities operated without camouflage, and weapons platforms were displayed. Proudly, the message to the galaxy was clear. This is what we always were. We just chose not to show you. Captain Yun-ho flew the new generation of human warships that incorporated technologies previously kept secret. The vessels could travel between star systems in minutes, manipulate gravity itself, and carry enough firepower to reshape solar systems. They were works of art that happened to be the most deadly weapons ever created. The galaxy settled into its new reality where humanity had revealed itself as the apex species. Everyone understood the rules now. Humans preferred peace, but if you forced them to fight, you would face an enemy that had been preparing for war longer than most civilizations had existed. The sleeping giants were awake, and nothing would ever be the same. Fleet Admiral Somin looked out at the stars from her command ship, knowing that humanity had finally taken its rightful place in the galaxy. They had spent 3 centuries pretending to be weak while becoming the strongest. The deception was over, and the universe was a safer place because everyone now understood exactly what humans were capable of when someone gave them a reason to stop being nice.